We interrupt our program this morning because we have some breaking news to bring you out of downtown Orlando. We want to take you to Orange Avenue, which is where this is all happening. You can see there's a heavy police presence. We started getting phone calls into our newsroom between 2 and 3 o'clock this morning about a shooting at a downtown Orlando nightclub. Since then, we've been able to confirm with Orlando police that there has been a shooting at Pulse nightclub in downtown Orlando. This is in the 1900 block of South Orange Avenue. If you're familiar with the area, let me set the scene for you. You may be able to see a McDonald's and a PNC Bank there on the right of your screen. This is the area near Orlando Regional Medical Center. So if you're headed south, there's a map there on the screen. If you're headed south on Orange Avenue, it's headed toward Cayley Street there. We have learned in the last 15 to 20 minutes that Orlando police plan to hold a news conference sometime around 4:30. There is a staging area, but let's get to that video here to show you exactly what's happening there at the scene. You can see there are several emergency responders there on the sidewalk. They're treating multiple patients. We are still working in our newsroom right now, and we have several crews on the scene trying to figure out exactly how many people were injured there at Pulse nightclub.
This is Channel 9 Eyewitness News this morning. Coverage you can count on.
Orlando police are on the scene of a mass shooting at a nightclub in downtown Orlando. This is all happening right now on Orange Avenue and Cayley Street. Police tell us there are multiple injuries. Police say multiple people are being treated at a local hospital right now in this shooting. We have crews there headed to the scene where dozens of officers raced to that Pulse nightclub on Orange Avenue. Eyewitness News this morning's Julie Salomon is live at the scene, near that scene. It's not far from Orlando Regional Medical Center. Julie, what can you tell us right now?
Well, as we were on our way to the scene this morning, I can tell you that several officers passed us flying by to get to this location on South Avenue. If you take a look over to my left, let's start over to my left. You can see an Orlando police officer has blocked off this street. Just moments ago, I saw an FBI agent dressed in tactical gear walk by us. I've also seen several dogs out here with officers walking this area. If you go over to my right, take a look over to my right, you can see more flashing blue and red lights, just numerous cop cars out here, police presence, again, FBI agents out here. I did speak with several people that have trickled into this area. One man told me he was inside this nightclub. He said that someone just came in just shooting. It sounded like an automatic weapon. Again, none of this is confirmed. Right now, Orlando police has just tweeted out that there were multiple injuries inside the Pulse nightclub, which is on South Orange Avenue. That is all they have told us right now. They also told us that they were going to hold some sort of a press conference on Orange and Gore, but they told us that has to be postponed for the time being because, as you can imagine, they must be incredibly busy right now. So I also spoke with a mother who told me her daughter was inside that nightclub, started texting her mom saying, "I have been shot in the hand," and now that mom cannot get a hold of her daughter. So as you can imagine, a mother's panic right now. We just heard some sort of explosion or some sort of noise. We're not sure exactly what just went off, but there was definitely some sort of a loud boom, but it came from a distance. So we are just trying to figure out exactly what's going on out here. Let's take a look at one of the people that I spoke with a little earlier this morning.
About 2:07, I got a text message from my daughter and my two nieces. Please come and get us. Please come and get us now. They're shooting. And then about 2:12, I got a phone call from my daughter saying she was hit and she was bleeding in her arm and she was going to pass out, and just come and get her and help her and call the cops and help. And she was just afraid, and it was just tragic. I know my daughter's 18. We're from Philadelphia, and she just wanted to go to this club. And
all right, we understand now that we have some cell phone video of the some of the scenario that unfolded outside and includes some gunshots. It's the first time we're seeing and hearing it. Let's take a look at that now.
Look at that, just shooting back and forth. That is crazy. Look at this. Let's go.
Oh. That's scary.
That's the video that we have at this point. It seemed to indicate there may have been some kind of shootout. He said shooting back and forth. So I don't know who that would have been, if it was between police and the gunman here. You know, here's what we know.
Let's actually, Jamie, before you recap, let's get live to a mother there on the scene.
I don't know if he's injured and being worked on, but they won't let us know. They're not letting us know any names of anybody.
What can you tell us about what happened?
Well, I could tell you that my son was in there with his boyfriend and two other guys, two other friends, and the two friends went to the bathroom, and when they went to the bathroom, they heard about 20 shots, and then they recognized it as being a shooter, so they took off running, and while they were waiting outside the club, they saw Juan, who is my son's boyfriend. They saw him being transported into a ambulance with multiple gunshots. But my son hasn't been heard from, so I don't know if he was left in the club, if he got shot, or if he's being worked on here. I don't know.
How scared are you not knowing?
It's terrible. He's my only child. He's 32. He's a good kid. He has a graduate degree in clinical psychology.
How did you hear about this? How did you hear about what was going on there?
I just happened to get up to go to the bathroom at 3 o'clock, and I checked my phone real quick, and one of my son's friends who was in the club had posted, there's a shooting at the Pulse. I don't know where my friends are, and I knew that was my son's friend, so I called him and I said, where's Christopher? And he says, we don't know. We can't find him. We can't get a hold of him. So I thought I would come right down here from Polk County so that I could find out myself. So I just want to be here, if it's good or bad. If he's, it's sad that you hope he's shot so that he's in there getting worked on. You hope he's not one of the dead people that are left at the club. I don't know how many are dead. I heard there were over 20 shot, and one cop I talked to when I was trying to find my son's friend said that there were fatalities. I haven't heard. Have you heard? How many fatalities?
What did he say? What did he say to you that went tonight, your son? What was the last thing he told you tonight?
Tonight I just called him about 6 o'clock. He was at SeaWorld with his boyfriend, but I called him to let him know because I'm having surgery and he needs to be there for my surgery at the hospital in Lakeland. And I was giving him the details on the dates and everything like that. And the last thing I told him was that I loved him. That was it.
What's your name, ma'am?
Christine Leinonen.
Spell your last name.
Leinonen.
And your son's Christopher?
Yes.
Same last name?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how did you find out about this?
My son was there with three friends, his boyfriend and two other friends, and the other two went to the bathroom and they ran out when the 100 shots went out.
Did somebody call you?
No, and then I happened to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I looked at my phone real quick while I was waiting to go back to sleep, and I looked at Facebook and I saw that my son's friend said that he was at the Pulse and there was a active shooter, and he couldn't find his friends. So I contacted him and I asked him if my son had gone with him, and he said he did and he couldn't find him. So my son is unaccounted for right now.
Well, we hope that something good comes out of it. We hope you hear from him soon, okay?
I hope so.
We're praying for you. And we will send it back to you in the studio right now. There is a scene outside of the ER here at the hospital. We'll continue to monitor things out here on the street, and we'll send it back to you now. Well, there's a crowd of people that are just standing around. We did see a lot of people go into the ER itself. There were police on a pickup truck that had patients that were dropping them off at the hospital, and the trauma team was rushing out to get those people who were in the emergency room bay. So that happened just about 5 minutes ago. It's hard to see. There's an ambulance in the way right now that is blocking the view, but we did see a couple of trucks drop off people here at the hospital on Orange Avenue. There's still a lot of people that are still mulling around the scene here that are trying to make sense of what happened. A lot of people are trying to. We're going to see if this guy here. Hi, do you mind if we talk to you? He doesn't want to talk. A lot of people are upset about what happened here tonight outside of the Pulse nightclub. We're going to try to see if there's some other people over here that might be able to talk to us. Excuse me, do you mind if we talk to you real quick?
No, man.
No?
What?
Have you heard from anybody?
My son, he got shot 3 times. Hey, get that camera out of the face right now.
Obviously, there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of emotions rolling around. So we're going to wrap that up with that poor lady there. We're going to send it back to the studio.
All right. Again, this is the reports that we're hearing at this point. We understand there have been at least 40 people taken to the hospital, and that's some of the scene that you never obviously want to be a part of, and you can only imagine, and you don't want to.
It gives me chills. And Jamie, just a few moments ago, I got a text message from a law enforcement source telling me that they now believe they do have some fatalities on their hands. I'm going to hold off on the number right now because I want to get this confirmed through another law enforcement source, but they do believe that they are dealing with some fatalities. There are no words.
Well, I mean, as a parent, you are a parent now, and having to deal with the circumstance like this. I mean, you send your child out on a Friday or Saturday night, and maybe you say a little prayer under your breath, and you hope for the best, and that they come home. And most times, the most thing you're worried about is, will they be home safe on I-4?
Also, just law enforcement source also telling me that the gunman is still inside the club, apparently. The SWAT team is on the scene, still working to find out whether or not there are patrons still inside the club. Again, this is still a very fluid situation. It all started around 2 o'clock this morning, just after 2 o'clock. Pulse nightclub on its Facebook page through social media urging people to just get out of the club and run. And then we started getting reports into our newsroom of multiple victims there shot inside the club after a gunman, at least one gunman, we know, went inside of the club and just started firing off shots. We've been hearing very emotional eyewitness accounts throughout the last half hour. And here you have a live picture of Sky Witness 9 showing you some of the paramedics rushing the injured to and from local hospitals, back and forth from that scene.
All right, let's go back to Jeff Lefkulich here very quickly. Again, the gunman, we believe, is still in the nightclub, but there also may be people inside.
Right.
And Jeff has a mom that has been trying to get a hold of her child. Jeff, are you there?
Yeah, Jamie, Mina Justice, her son, 80 Justice, has been in the club. The last time she heard from him was about 2:50 this morning. Tell us, how difficult has it been just waiting to see if he could...
Well, they asked me to stay home, but I drove here because I wasn't going to stay home. And I don't know anything. I heard a bomb, so I don't know anything. I don't know if he's alive or dead.
What did he say to you? He's been text messaging you?
Yes, he said that he called him a terrorist, has them in the women's bathroom, and please come get us out because he's about to kill us. So he said he was going to die and he loved me. That's the last thing I heard.
And you actually told him to stop texting because you were afraid for him?
I told him to stop talking. I was talking to him first. Stop talking, just text, because the dispatcher had me asking him questions. Then it's just stopped. So then I went crazy and put on my clothes and came. So I don't know.
Are you worried?
I'm not worried. I'm just devastated. It's horrible. Whoever this person is.
Did you ever imagine that something like this would happen today?
No. I just talked to him earlier today, went to my house and cooked him something to eat. No. Never.
The last time you talked to him was again?
2:51.
And what was the last thing he said to you?
I love you, and he's going to kill us.
Did he describe what the guy looked like? Or?
He was trying to, but I couldn't hear him with all the noise because there was another young lady talking to the dispatcher, too. So I couldn't understand. So he was like, I don't want to look up because he's, if I look up, he might shoot me. So.
Has anybody told you anything, any of the police or anything?
They said, you won't know anything. So I don't know if he's there in the hospital. I don't know.
And you believe that he's still being held hostage at this point?
I do. Because I think he would have called or something.
Do you think maybe a battery ran out in his phone? Maybe that's why you haven't heard, or you think he would have tried to get to you?
No, I think something happened. I do.
Well, good luck to you. We hope everything is okay with your son. We hope everything works out for you. Again, there's a lot of stories like that here on Orange Avenue tonight as people are waiting to hear from their loved one that may be inside the club or maybe inside the hospital. Jamie?
All right, Jeff, obviously we continue to hear that kind of scenario, and what she is telling us now is what we had believed to be the case, that the gunman is indeed still in that nightclub, and that he very well could be as holding hostages, as that mother has said, saying that he has them in the women's bathroom. And the last thing he texted to his mom was, "I love you, and he's going to kill us."
Yeah, I don't know if he's alive or dead. To hear a mother talk about her son in that way, I mean, she doesn't really have any emotion right now. It's almost like she's trying.
Numb.
She's numb.
She's so scared that she's numb.
Yeah. Now getting information from our producers in the control room that Orlando police now confirms that the shooter is dead.
That's right.
The shooter is dead. So, wow. Very fluid situation here. I want to get live back to Roy Ramos, who is live there on the scene along Orange Avenue. You just spoke with a DJ and a security guard from Pulse nightclub.
Yeah, I just spoke with them a short time ago. They did not want to go on camera, but they did describe what they saw while they were in there. I spoke to that DJ. He said that he heard shots fired right after 2 this morning. He said that he saw several people running out of the club, several of them with gunshot wounds. Take a look right here behind me. We're about a block away from Orange Avenue. We're right on Cayley Street, and you can still see several of those officers lining that street right there. Several of those ambulances on the other side over here on Pennsylvania and Lucerne still standing by for victims. As I mentioned before, I did speak to one of the paramedics there inside one of those ambulances who told me they are basically standing by for the call for more victims that are unfortunately coming out of that nightclub. We will continue to follow this situation. We're learning more about that shooter. When we get that information, we'll be sure to bring it right back to you. For now, here right off of Cayley and Orange Avenue in downtown Orlando, Roy Ramos, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, so here's the latest information that we have at this point. Again, there was the shooter that apparently had been locked inside the bathroom. We're now getting reports that the shooter is dead. We do not have confirmation that whether there was another shooter at all. There's some conflicting reports there that we're getting from some of the witnesses. And again, there's a lot of people that are hearing it from a secondhand source about who was shooting and was there another person. Obviously, a lot of chaos on the scene in a situation like this. We understand anywhere between 20 and 40 people have been shot. We also understand, per your law enforcement source, that we are hearing that there are indeed fatalities. But it appears, obviously, this is a multiple agency response. We know that OPD is on the scene. Orange County Sheriff's Department is on the scene. FBI and their tactical team, obviously, also there. This is the kind of situation that, you know, they train for and secretly pray they never have to actually go through.
Right.
So, again, this is a very fluid situation. We understand that there were a lot, you know, the club was completely full at capacity, so it's a full nightclub, and after 2 a.m. somebody, or at least one person, walked in with an automatic rifle and began opening fire. Instantly, a number of people were hurt, per one of the witnesses that we heard there, who was up working on the lights. And then it was obviously mass chaos. Now, there was a 7-Eleven that's nearby there, and that's also being used as a staging area for staff and employees. Apparently, all of them have gotten out safely. What we don't know is all of the number of people that were inside of that club. How many people have actually been taken to the local hospitals, both of which ORMC and Arnold Palmer are now on lockdown. And we don't have a confirmation on the number of fatalities.
That lockdown was probably, especially now that we know the shooter is dead, Orlando police confirming that information, that lockdown was probably just a precautionary measure because Pulse nightclub is very close to the hospital there, and so I imagine that because of the close proximity there, they were that's part of their emergency protocol when they have an active shooter situation like this in the area. And a lot of agencies train for this now. Unfortunately, this is just part of the norm in the society we live in right now. This is a live look outside of the hospital, and what we're looking at, what you're seeing on your screen right now, what we're showing you, this is the emergency room entrance there to Orlando Regional Medical Center. So all of the injured who have been taken there were shuttled in through this area. And I can just tell you from my experience and being inside of this trauma center there, it is sort of organized chaos what happens when they get this many patients coming in at once. And the trauma center is set up in such a way that it's extremely cold in there because they want to kind of get you cold so that they can start operating on you immediately and try to treat your injuries. And so it's organized chaos, but they do a phenomenal job there treating the most traumatic patients.
Now, what you can't see, what you do see there, obviously, is a strong law enforcement presence, as obviously this hospital now completely locked down. Anybody that has any kind of other emergency is going to be shuttled to other area hospitals, because obviously now this is a full staff response,
right,
with the number of victims here that they have. This is Sky Witness over the scene there. I'm sorry, where is this? Okay, that's over Orange Avenue there. And again, you see the large law enforcement presence there. Now, again, OPD just tweeted out about 6 minutes ago that the shooter inside the club is dead. So this would allow us, I believe, to start believing that there is indeed only one person that was involved as the shooter.
Yeah, my law enforcement source told me just minutes ago that they only have one gunman.
Okay,
so
well, that's at least confirmation on that, and I think, you know, this certainly confirms it with OPD saying the shooter, and they're certainly not indicating that there's any search for anybody else inside or outside of that club. So again, we do know that there was some kind of hostage situation up until about 10 minutes ago. We do not know the status of those hostages. We do not know exactly how many people have been injured. We do not know how many people may be dead.
Going down. Let's take you live here to some, actually, I think this is some recorded video we have of some text messages that a mother was getting from her son trapped in the bathroom.
Pulse downtown, call police. I'm going to die. I'm calling you now, calling them. Call them mommy.
Answer your damn phone. I mean, just it's an unnerving situation. Which bathroom? Coming over, what time?
Okay, I think she reset, so she's trying to redo it. But again, I mean, this is the conversation, I believe,
think she's going to go through it here
one
again.
of the mothers that we, there. So, again, one of the mothers desperately trying to text with her son. This is the son that was in the bathroom, as you can see there. That
at
said
2:46, he was still in the bathroom.
He has us. They need to come get us. The police is in there. Let me know when you see police. Hurry, he's in the bathroom with us. Women's bathroom.
Wow, is the bathroom. Let's get to live till Jeff Lefkulich, who's actually with that mother who was receiving those text messages. Well, no, this is a different mother, actually.
Jeff, is this woman, you know, our hearts just go out to this woman. Has she gotten any information yet?
Jamie Darling, this is Christine Leineman, is that right?
Yes.
Tell us about, have you heard anything from your son yet?
I haven't heard anything about his condition, where he is, if he's in the hospital, if he's still at the club. He hasn't called us, hasn't answered our texts, and we know that he went in there with his boyfriend and 2 other friends, and his boyfriend was shot with multiple shots and was taken to the hospital early on, and he was sitting right next to him while his 2 friends were in the bathroom. So
this has got to be just horrific, not knowing anything.
It's horrible not knowing, but I keep waiting to hear. I don't know how long it's going to take. How long does it take for, you know, do the police or does the hospital at least give me some idea of where he is?
We understand the shooter in the club was killed. What are your thoughts on that?
I felt good when I heard that.
Now let's go to that news conference.
Okay, we're going to have a few updates this morning. We're going to have Mayor Dyer speak first, Chief Mina, Sheriff Demings will speak, and then Danny Banks with FDLE and Ron Harper with the FBI. They'll take a few questions afterward and answer what they can, but then we'll continue to provide updates as the day goes on.
Tonight, our community witnessed or experienced a very horrific crime. Many lives were lost and many more individuals were impacted by witnessing the crime. Many were saved, however, by the heroic efforts of the men and women of OPD, the Orange County Sheriff's Office, Seminole County Sheriff's Office. We have great cooperation from FDLE and the FBI, all our law enforcement agencies, fire departments from Orlando, Seminole County, and Orange County, and all of the hospital personnel that have been working through the night. We are a strong, resilient community. Tonight, we had a crime that will have a lasting effect on our community. We need to stand strong. We need to be supportive of the victims and their families. I'm going to ask Chief Mina to explain what happened.
Good morning. So at approximately 02:02 hours this morning, we had an officer working at Pulse nightclub who responded to shots fired. Our officer engaged in a gun battle with that suspect. The suspect at some point went back inside the club where more shots were fired. This did turn into a hostage situation. From there, obviously multiple officers from various agencies responded. SWAT team responded at approximately 0500 hours this morning. The decision was made to rescue hostages that were in there. Our SWAT officers exchanged gunfire with the suspect. The suspect is dead.
Where Channel 9's Roy Ramos is live right now, where he's seen quite a flood of people coming there to maybe provide some eyewitness accounts as to what they saw. Roy?
Darlene, as you mentioned, several agencies working this case, but the FBI is leading this investigation and I'm sure have several questions. They hope that several of the witnesses that are being brought here to Orlando Police Headquarters will be able to answer some of those questions. Let's go ahead and show you video of the buses here arriving early this morning. We did see a total of 3 buses being escorted by Orlando police officers here to Orlando Police Headquarters, a total of about, I'd say 50 people getting off of each of those buses. So well over 100 people here at Orlando Police Headquarters, and Orlando Police is also urging anyone that may have witnessed what may have occurred early this morning to come here to Orlando Police Headquarters to provide them with that information. Again, we heard Orlando Police say that there were over 320 people inside of that club at the time of this shooting. About 42 of them were transported and about another 32 were rescued. Unfortunately, approximately 20 of those people did lose their lives. Again, we are standing outside of police headquarters, and if I go ahead and show you right here behind me, there were several family members out here waiting for those witnesses to come out of questioning from those investigators. Jamie, Darlene?
Roy, I know you've been live there on the scene for a while, and I see some folks there behind you. Have you been able to talk to any of them to get a sense of, are we dealing with people who are mostly there inside of the club, or are we dealing with loved ones who are simply trying to come there for answers?
Well, right now, the people that are outside, the people that you're looking at right here, these are the loved ones and family members that are waiting for those witnesses that are inside. The people that are inside were actually at the club, and I saw a few of the people getting off of that bus who I spoke with out there on the scene who said they were employees, they were club goers. Some of them were sitting outside in the back patio when they heard these shots ring out. So these people are family members waiting for those witnesses to come out.
Take you live over Sky Witness 9 back to the robot there outside of Pulse nightclub. It's now come outside of the club. We saw it, go inside of the building more than an hour ago now, maybe an hour or so ago now. Chief John Mina talking about sending that robot inside of the building to make sure there were no explosives there, because there were reports that the gunman was strapped with explosives.
That's right. And one of the other indicators is the chief also said there may be a device in the car. So we could presume at this point that that would be the car. The back window of that vehicle is all the windows have been blown out. Yeah, it looks like even the back side window there has been blown out. And you see the robot in place. The concern obviously being now, is anything booby-trapped? Are they walking into a situation? You may remember, you know, the shooting at the movie theater with James Holmes in his apartment was essentially booby-trapped. So there is now this concern that the situation, just because it's done, doesn't mean it's over.
It's not over until it's over, really. And this is a very methodical situation for law enforcement there on the scene. Now we see the robot moving around there. You can see there's sort of a string, attached to it, because now they're probably going to send the robot there to sort of, I believe they tested to see if they could, you know, determine if there are any explosives attached to the vehicle. Channel 9's Roy Ramos, who has been at Orlando Police Headquarters here this morning. And Roy, you are speaking with someone there who was actually inside of the club at the time of the shooting.
That's right. I'm just speaking with this woman that walked out of police headquarters. She was just questioned by investigators inside. She tells me that she was inside when all of this was going on. Talk to me about what did it sound like? What did it look like? I mean, what was going on?
It was a lot of pops, and at the end of it, it was a lot of groaning. Everybody's kind of on the ground. A lot of people were just pretending to be shot just so that they wouldn't be shot, but he came back and was just shooting everyone.
Where were you when all this started?
I was by the exit. I was on my way out, actually.
You were telling me that you were right next to your friend when he was shot, right?
Yeah.
And you were able to get him to safety?
After OPD came in and they cleared the room, I carried him out and we were able to get out to the front, where then the officer helped them into the the car to take him to the hospital.
Have you got an update on his condition and how he's doing?
Not yet.
But you can still see that several stains on your shoes here, right?
Yeah.
And that was from early this morning and on your shirt as well?
Yeah.
I mean, the screams inside, that's what we're hearing from people.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Nobody knew what was going on at first. It was kind of, at first I turned around to tell my friend it was just firecrackers. And then she showed me the hole in her arm. And I was like, oh, not firecrackers.
What did you do immediately when you heard those shots ring out?
Initially I turned around to see where my friend was at. And then after that, I grabbed her and we ducked behind a couch that was right by the entrance. And luckily he didn't come back to that corner.
Did you see him at any point? The shooter?
I did.
What did he look like?
Messed up guy. A lot of problems. Like, he was just a regular Hispanic guy who was just angry at the world.
Did you see him carrying a weapon?
Yeah.
And what did it look like?
A rifle. I don't really know about guns, so I couldn't tell you specifically, but it was a big rifle and it had a large clip.
Did you hear him say anything? Was he screaming anything?
Just heard him laugh once.
You heard him laugh?
Once.
Wow.
Towards the end.
And there you have it from a person that was inside of Pulse nightclub early this morning that saw the shooter. She says she saw him with that gun. She heard those loud gunshots and at one point heard the gunman laugh. Outside of police headquarters, Roy Ramos, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
That is just that's a chilling account, essentially, of what happened.
Today we're dealing with something that we never imagined and is unimaginable. Since the last update, we have gotten better access to the building. We have cleared the building, and it is with great sadness that I share we have not 20 but 50 casualties. In addition to the shooter, there are another 53 that are hospitalized. Because of the scale of the crime, I've asked the governor to declare a state of emergency.
You've been listening to a live news conference now with local, state, and federal officials talking about what has happened today in Orlando at Pulse nightclub. I think the most compelling thing to mention right now is the fact that we have updated numbers on the number of people who were killed in the nightclub. 50 people have been killed. 53 have been hospitalized, but when we heard that number 50, it just kind of, I think we both just gasped, like, did he mean 50 people dead? And yes, 50 people dead in that nightclub.
I thought maybe he had messed up in his numbers, maybe he had said casualties and he meant to say wounded. This would rank it as the worst mass shooting in American history. Virginia Tech, there were 32 people killed. There were 27 people killed in 2012 at Sandy Hook. With 50 dead, this would become the worst mass shooting in American history. Shannon Butler actually is with us now. She's joining us. Shannon, you have some more information on essentially what unfurled there for that 3 hours.
I do. I talked to several of the folks that were in charge of going inside the Pulse nightclub just after the shooting. They told me this was by far the worst thing they had ever seen. They said the original call came over the radio by that off-duty police officer from Orlando that was inside the club. He said, "Officer needs help. There is a gunman inside this nightclub." Orange County and Orlando, all of that law enforcement then came to the Pulse nightclub. At that point, they could hear the gunshots over and over and over again. They didn't immediately go inside that building because there was an active shooter. They were trying to figure out how to get everyone out and also get in to try to take down that shooter. That is why it took so long for this situation kind of to end. They said they finally went into the building. As they were going in, people were running out. He said the screams were so loud you couldn't hear the person next to you. They said people were running out as they were running by these law enforcement officers. They had bullet wounds in their arms, in their legs. He said they went in and they looked around and they said all they could see were bodies laying all over the nightclub floor. They said that there was a light, you know, one of those kind of disco lights that was still on in that building, which made the situation even creepier. They said as they came in, they said when they came in, they could see blood almost covering the entire floor, and there were casing after casing after casing on that floor. He said they were going one by one to all of these people laying on the floor. At that point, they thought at least 40 people may be dead. There were people piled up on the floor on top of each other. They were going one by one, pulling them up, checking for pulses. Anyone who had a pulse or some kind of movement, they were dragging out, trying to get them to safety. As they were doing that, they could still hear shots fired. They said that the OPD officer who first engaged him had actually pushed him to the back of the building towards the restrooms in the back. They looked up and they saw that there was an office, kind of a balcony on top of that club. They said the door swung open from this office and people just started piling out. People who had been shot, people who had been hiding, waiting for law enforcement to go inside. Now, inside that bathroom, they tell me that the man took 3 women hostage inside the ladies' room. They were texting 911. They were telling officers, quote, "He has just reloaded. Please be careful. He has a bomb strapped to him." They were texting inside that bathroom. In the meantime, on the other bathroom, that men's bathroom, they were coming through. Police were coming through the outside wall into that bathroom, trying to get the people that were hiding in the men's bathroom and in a changing room outside to safety. So then that threat was just inside that women's room.
We have talked a lot about something that has just been compelling in the midst of this tragedy, and it's not overstating it to call it a tragedy, and that is the number of people who have answered the call today to give blood. Raquel Asa is at One Blood now. Raquel, just moments ago, you showed us just tremendous lines, and we also see behind you some people there giving out water to the people. Set the scene for us there in terms of what you're seeing.
What I'm seeing is absolutely incredible. I just spoke to the public information officer, but I want to show you the front door. They have to keep it closed because inside of that suite right now, it is packed with people. But I want to show you the line. It just continues to grow. I mean, you didn't come back to me. You weren't too long ago until you saw this line, but it just continues to go through the parking lot, around the sidewalk, people out here handing out water, because it is hot out here. And of course, when you donate blood, you need to be really hydrated for this. We've also been seeing people handing out bananas, granola bars, so that when they do get a chance to go in, they will be fully prepared to donate that blood. Now, when I spoke to the public information officer for One Blood, he told me there are 3 specific types that they are looking for. This is what you want to pay attention to: O negative, O positive, and AB plasma. That's because those are the universal blood types. One thing he did stress to me is that this location is on Michigan Street, just off of I-4. Now, you can see the line here. It is absolutely long. Lots of people waiting to go inside. So he told me to tell people to go to mobile locations. They will obviously have water as well for when you get there, but the mobile locations will be your better bet if you want to donate blood today, because this location here just literally blocks and not far from the Pulse nightclub is packed. Those mobile locations are where you want to go to this morning. On Twitter, Raquel R. Asa, WFTV. I put those locations for you also at WFTV.com. We have those locations for you so you can avoid these long lines. One thing he also stressed to me is you have a mass response right now. He expects that to die down in the next couple of days. So he said your better bet is to avoid the crowds. Wait a couple days. If you still want to donate, you can do that. And if you do not know your blood type, they say today is not the day to come to the location because they're obviously trying to get those people in that have the blood types that they need. Now, they also mentioned that they're going to be dispatching, of course, more mobile units than what they have. You probably noticed those mobile units in many of the shopping plazas that you go to. I know I go to one right in Hunters Creek at the Loop, and there is that mobile blood donation center in the parking lot not far from the movie theater. I know there's another one at Waterford Lakes. I just sent over a full list of locations to WFTV.com so you can see where those locations are for yourself. So you could head over there, not necessarily today, maybe in the next couple of days, because as we know, more than 50 people were hurt in this shooting, 50 people dead. It's so hard to say those numbers because you never think something like this is going to happen to Orlando, to Central Florida. So as you can see, since we haven't seen anything like this happen we've never seen something happen like this, to be quite honest. And you can see the immense response because this shows just how the community has come together, people making sure that they're hydrated because, as you know, in Florida, it can get hot. So I'm going to go through this line. I'm going to talk to some of the people who have showed up on this Sunday to find out what is bringing them here today.
And 9 officers there on the scene were involved in that shootout.
And we have the first picture that we can bring you of the suspect in this, Omar Mateen, 29 years old. Again, there have been reports that this wasn't as much an act of terrorism as it was an act of hate. We are waiting to hear that official word from FBI, and FBI sources are looking into that because this is known as, according to their own website, the happening club for the gay population. This is the annual Gay Days time in Central Florida. And so this person allegedly had a problem as well with the homosexual lifestyle. And that, according to some other sources in South Florida, really triggered this shooting. Here is a look now at Omar Mateen, who is the person that is thought to have killed 50 people in the nightclub shooting. And that's a picture from social media. We have now confirmed that is the person that they were after when they went inside. We have a phone? Okay, we're going to have a phone call in just a minute. We're also going to help you today as you're watching. And we know this because when we've had bad things, people need to know, what do you say to your kids? How do you handle this? How do you deal with the coping mechanisms that you have? Because this has never happened before in Orlando. It's never happened in the United States to this level. And we're going to bring in an expert to help you as well. So we want to help guide you through this by bringing in experts who can answer those questions, because not just those who saw this, but the people who have seen this play out on TV in their own community are also affected by this.
And on the phone we have with us now former FBI agent Del Carson to give us some insight into all of this. We've talked this morning about exactly the process in terms of investigating something this massive. What can you tell our viewers to explain to us what happens now, Mr. Carson?
Well, right now, the FBI will be obtaining the necessary search warrants to make this a proper and effective investigation.
Well, Greg, I want to update you on some work we've been doing here in our newsroom. Around 9:30 this morning is when we were able to confirm the shooter in all of this, according to law enforcement, is Omar Mateen. What we've been able to confirm just using public records databases here in our newsroom is that I believe we have a timeline to show you here. In 2006, he was actually born Omar Mir Sadiq. In 2006, he had a name change apparently to Omar Mateen, and then in 2009, he was apparently married. 2011, the two were divorced, and then in 2013, apparently he enters into a mortgage with another woman, and in 2016, Omar Mateen transfers property that he has via a quitclaim deed to Mustafa Absin and Sabrina Abbasin. Now, we are still working right now in our newsroom to sort of figure out who all of those folks are, who he's connected with. But let's take you through the timeline just one more time if we can. This all started around 2 o'clock this morning. And here what you're seeing is video of the wounded, the injured, walking out of that nightclub there in 2006. So let's go back to that timeline here. He had a name change in 2009. He's married then. In 2011, the two are divorced. And in 2013, Omar Mateen enters into a mortgage with someone, and then in 2016 that property is transferred via a quitclaim deed. So this is all part of our work here in the newsroom as we work to try to dig up and learn more about the suspected shooter in all of this, who's been identified as Omar Mateen, who apparently was living in the Port St. Lucie area. We have a crew headed down that way to try to work on more of that. But Greg, we also know, as you all have been showing there, a large law enforcement presence there outside of his home in the Port St. Lucie area, because one of the things law enforcement will do during all of this is they're going to be searching his cell phone. They're going to be searching any computers, searching his home for any potential evidence so that they can try to figure out a motive in all of this. They want to know why. That is the key thing that they want to know right now.
What about, Greg, the people who were inside and witnessed this, who saw their loved ones, their partners, their friends attacked, shot? How do people recover from this? How does our community heal from this? Remember, Friday night, we left the Channel 9 studios with another shooting, the singer who had been shot and killed at a venue in our area as well. And now, obviously, we have this, which is certainly a different magnitude. But how do people recover? How do they heal? My friend's texting me now, I'm afraid to get on an airplane. What do we do?
Let's find out more about that again with a grief counselor and expert with Vanessa Eccles is Dwight Bain. And Vanessa, this is something that we're all going to have to heal on this together to different magnitudes depending on how we were impacted.
Exactly. So, Dwight, when we talk about this, first of all, there's so much to talk about. You really want to stress this idea of what we can do to prevent post-traumatic stress disorder.
That's right. The research is really clear, and it's kind of scary if you don't deal with traumatic emotions right now, especially with young children or with senior citizens or people that are closely affected to it. Then this can turn into post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a debilitating condition. It can lead to suicide, it can lead to major depression, and it can lead to even greater psychological mental health problems. So I want you to think, Vanessa, like somebody dropped a huge, massive rock, the biggest it's ever been dropped. And it's right here in Orlando, the epicenter. And so what happens is these ripples that ripple out. If you were close to, if you lost a loved one last night, if you lost a coworker last night, then you're directly impacted. Right now, you need the highest level of care. But then even as it ripples out, everybody in our city, everybody in our region, really everybody that travels to the world's #1 destination to visit right here in Orlando, we're all going to be impacted in different degrees. So we put the level of care at the level of impact psychologically.
And so how do, you mentioned talking, how do we talk to our family and friends, especially if they're children? They're going to be impacted by this. As adults, we don't understand this. How in the world do we talk to kids about this?
Well, right now, it's a great question, Vanessa, because right now, there is no answer to the question, why did this happen? We don't even focus on that. We focus on what can you do? What can I do? And what can I do to keep my kids safe? Most of Central Florida schools are now out for the summer, so there's a lot of extra free time, and I want to make sure that we keep children, very young children, in purposeful activities. It's appropriate, it's right to talk to our kids about traumatic, horrible things. I just like it, young children especially, to hear that from their mom and dad. And very young children always look at their mom or dad to see, is mom or dad okay? Because if they see that their parents are okay, it helps them to get through it better. With older kids, we use different strategies.
And the thought is, how in the world do we talk to them, though, without scaring them or conveying our fear to them?
Well, and so that's why one of the basic principles I use in crisis management, if you can talk through it, you can get through it. And so I want the adults, before you ever talk to your kids, to talk to each other. And that's a large part of what we'll do today. If a child already doesn't know about this, it's okay to not tell them yet, because I want the mom and dad to try to sort through. I want people practicing what I learned at Ground Zero after the terrorist attacks of 9/11. And you practice first something called self-care. And self-care is, are you doing what, just like when the oxygen mask, pops from the ceiling of a plane, are you taking care of you first? and then the next one would be buddy care or family care, and then we focus on other people. So there are a lot of self-care strategies that people may want to use if they're feeling already overwhelmed.
What about the fear of crowds? Because we always hear, you know, don't let the terrorists win.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to go out. Don't be afraid to go in these large gatherings, but people are scared.
You know what? And you're right. And so after a major crisis, I want people to understand normal emotions. It's normal right now to be very scared. It's normal to be traumatized by this because nothing like this has ever happened in our country. And so I don't want people to think about what am I going to do next week if I'm supposed to travel or next week if I'm supposed to go to a festival. I want them to focus on the next 24 hours. Basic things like hydration, basic things like rest, because it's normal to feel scared. I just don't want people to stay silent and to go into the cave and hold it all inside. I need people to process emotions after a crisis. That's how you get through a crisis, and you don't do it alone.
We have talked about first responders. They're used to seeing terrible things, but nothing like this. But it's not just them, it's about their family. If you have a family member who's a first responder, do you, let's not talk about this because it'll upset them, maybe he or she doesn't want to talk about it? Do you say, tell me everything you saw? What do you do?
Well, I'm glad you said that, Vanessa, because that's the one thing I don't want them doing, because there are so many. We're talking hundreds of people. This is the biggest incident to occur in our country, by far the biggest incident to happen here in Central Florida. We have great trained first responders and police and fire and medical, EMTs, emergency room surgeons. So there are great resources available, but to be able to say, tell me all the gory details, I don't want anybody doing that. That's not going to help you heal and recover. Our focus right now is what can we think about, what can we talk about, what can we do that will help stabilize me, so then I can start to reach out to stabilize other people.
For the people who were there last night and witnessed something that will be traumatizing and life-changing forever, immediately, what's your advice for them? Those people who saw this, those people who heard this, what do you say to them?
You know, I would say to the girls locked in the bathroom, you know, who were traumatized, who were afraid they were going to die. And I would say to them, you know what, I don't know why this happened. Remember, we're not focusing on why. There's no answer to why right now. But I'm going to focus on what can we do to get through it. What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? Tell me what was going through your mind, to be able to reach out and be that compassionate caregiver right now. And there are a lot of us at this point in time, Vanessa, people are going to say, what can I do? I don't know what to do. I can give blood, I can give bottled water. You can also give of yourself. And a compassionate question to just ask someone, are you okay? How are you doing? And the only answer that doesn't work right now is to say, I'm fine, because nobody's fine through this. But if we talk through this, I know we can get through this.
We've heard from a lot of people who've been watching the coverage. They weren't there. They might not even know anyone who was there. But watching this, we have a collective heavy heart in Central Florida.
Yes, we do.
This afternoon. So what do you say to us? How do we get through this?
You know, you're holding in your hand, Vanessa, a legal pad. And one of my favorite things when somebody's gone through a crisis, and remember there's different circles. If I wasn't directly impacted, but I'm impacted at this level, I want people to journal, get a legal pad, create a note on your phone, on your smartphone, and just start listing out. Are you feeling more sad? Are you feeling more angry? Are you more upset? Are you more traumatized? Psychologically, we've got to get people processing emotions to get through this. Early processing of trauma prevents PTSD 6 months from now, and that's whether you're 6 years old or you're 60 years old. But you have to get those emotions flowing, and some of them will be ugly, and some will be scary. I don't know if I want to go to work tomorrow. Right now, we want people to know those emotions are normal. We're having a normal reaction to an abnormal event. It's an abnormal event to have a terrorist attack, and the normal reaction after a terrorist attack is to be traumatized. But together, collectively, we can pull together and we can get through this as a community.
We do want to go right now to a developing situation. Our Janine Reyes is at the suspect's condo, I believe. Janine, are you telling us, I believe, our producer just told me that people are being evacuated in that area?
We do believe this is his condo. It's a building just down the street from me. You can see crime scene tape is blocking it off. We had a little bit of a difficult time getting here because several streets do have that crime scene tape up. Now, there are some people I can see in the front of the condo, but what we are being told, what we believe, is that his building is evacuated. I have been in touch with a woman who says she lives just next door to him. She has told me that he lives there with a woman and a 4-year-old son. We believe it is that building that is evacuated at this point in time. I can tell you there are mobile units out here, lots of law enforcement, again, blocking off parts of this street here. By the way, the drive from here, if this is Mateen's home over to Pulse nightclub is about an hour, 45 minutes. So I just mapped it to see. We did also leave a second scene from here. It's about 20 minutes away in Port St. Lucie. We have some video of that. There's a heavy law enforcement presence there as well. Parts of the street are blocked off, and we do see authorities going in to that home. We believe that may be Mateen's parents' home. Of course, we'll stay out here to monitor all of this law enforcement activity and bring you the latest. Back to you.
Janine Reyes again at the condo. That's the new address that we have for the shooter. This is the other address. This is the house. Let's listen to Senator Marco Rubio.
And as I've told all the law enforcement here already, this could have happened anywhere in the world. Unfortunately, today was Orlando's turn. And in a broader conflict, we're still learning all the facts. In a few moments, the FBI will be back with a kind of fill us in on more details. Both Senator Nelson and I are very involved in the intelligence community, so we'll get more of a sense of what we know at this point.
Carlos Carbonell sending this out. I ache for my city and my community. This is a hate crime and an act of terror. Hashtag pray for Orlando. He took a screenshot of our coverage from earlier today. He's a local activist as well here in town. And it's not just local. Selena Gomez, just an idea. I grabbed the snapshot. She took a picture from ABC News. This is honestly so sad. Pray for Orlando. And then she put the hashtag pray for humanity. And that's how we realize, just get chills saying that, how we realize that this story is so much bigger than us right now. We have more tweets to share with you, messages, people sending pictures. More love, less hate. This is Kris Jenner, ex-wife of Caitlyn Jenner. Heartbroken. My thoughts and prayers are with the families of the victims. Pray for Orlando. So celebrities weighing in on what's happening right here to us. Donald Trump, he also sent out a tweet this morning. Horrific incident in Florida, praying for all the victims and their families. When will this stop? When will we get tough, smart, and vigilant? Donald Trump weighing in as well, obviously running for president, presumptive Republican nominee, and then Hillary Clinton. We wanted to pull that as well, presumptive Democratic nominee. Woke up to hear the devastating news from Florida. As we wait for more information, my thoughts are with those affected by this horrific act, and she signed it H. Also, Ellen DeGeneres, obviously, talk show host, gay activist, a lesbian herself, simply put, sobbing.
At Pulse nightclub, I want to bring in U.S. Congressman John Mica of Central Florida. And Congressman Mica, thank you for coming in. Obviously, under these circumstances, none of us are pleased.
Very difficult day for, you can't even imagine families waking up, hearing of their loved ones lost or wounded, and otherwise a beautiful and peaceful community we live in.
So as you have conversed with various people with the federal government, the one thing that struck me, struck Martha, and struck you was the fact that this individual bought a handgun and a long gun just a few days ago, and yet he had been interviewed on more than one occasion in his past.
Once again, we failed to connect the dots. We'll investigate this fully. I spoke to the Attorney General Lynch. She's on her way back from Beijing. She's in China, and told her that we will conduct a full investigation. We want cooperation. I also want every resource brought into Central Florida to make certain that this is thoroughly investigated. We get to the root of this. Now, all of us heard this morning, the FBI officials said at 9:30, that's 5 hours after the end of this attack, that they had a link, that this individual had a link to terrorism. If they knew at 5:30, why didn't they know before? Why didn't they stop him? One, from getting to the door of the nightclub, and two, as you pointed out, from obtaining firearms. So he was under surveillance. Once again, we have failed to connect the dots.
That is what, in my Twitter page of people who are angered by it. Well, the FBI has investigated not once, but twice, and yet he's still legally able to purchase the rifle and the gun.
Exactly. How hard would it be to surveil somebody? Because as soon as he purchased a gun, why is there not
this guy, it appears, and you have to get all the facts, had posed a threat before. Enough to at least have, as we've heard anecdotally, several interviews or some surveillance. But, I mean, the administration just sent hundreds of agents to gun shows. Why not send them to surveil people who we know pose a risk? So it's not where your resources are, it's how you apply them. Most offensive to Central Florida is this document, which we'll give you a copy of. But last year, and in the last couple of years, I got more of the Orlando area rather than the area to north of Jacksonville. This is my response to a rejection letter to Jeb Johnson, the Secretary of DHS, Department of Homeland Security, rejecting Central Florida as having a risk for terrorism. And I wrote back to him, this is January 27th, my birthday, know it well. Central Florida is a target of opportunity and vulnerable to all types of terrorist activities. They had taken our community off of the risk list. Sheriff Demings, Police Chief Mina, great local officials came to me and said, hey, they've cut our resources for terrorism that are available to other communities, but not us. They wouldn't tell us why they took them took Central Florida off. And this is part of our counter argument to them. They rejected us not once but twice. So I'm gonna call the Secretary of DHS in and hold him accountable for not allowing our community to have the resources that maybe could have allowed us to help connect the dots. And some of that money is used by our folks, our local folks in state and others. So this is two areas where we failed dramatically, and that's where we've got maybe you've heard me before. You've got to put your resources where the risks are, and go after people who pose a risk and a threat. If this guy didn't pose a risk and a threat, I must be on another planet.